Hello. Hello, it's me. Let me turn this down a little bit because it's loud in my ear holes. There we go. Anyway, how you guys doing? It is time for our twice a month YouTube stream. I'm still on the fence about whether to keep doing these. I don't know. They don't feel like... Uh-oh. Little hiccup. Little hiccup. Okay. I think we're back. They don't feel like they do that great as far as like people wanting to do them, I guess. But if you guys like them, I'll keep doing them. So it's me, prove it. Yeah, I got nothing. I have absolutely no proof that it's me. You will have to take my word for it. I don't think AI would fumble at this level. How's that? Anyway, yeah, so we're just hanging out. I've got it set up just to chat today, if that works. But because I haven't really done just a pure just chatting in a while, I usually have some game going on in the background. That said, if we get bored, I'll definitely get a game going in the background and we can just vibe with it. I don't have structure, I guess is the word. I don't have any structure planned for this other than just to kind of go with the flow and let you guys kind of dictate what we do, since we're structured most of the rest of the time. Diet Coke or Coke Zero? Obviously Diet Coke, but here in Australia, there are some places where it's just really hard to find Diet Coke, like McDonald's now, unfortunately. So Coke Zero does in a pinch. It's fine. I feel like I should probably try to transfer myself over to it because I can see the writing on the wall with Diet Coke, but yeah, we'll see. Anyway, we are halfway through this week. Is anybody else feeling like 2024 is kind of starting out with an ass kicking? Or is it just me? Like, it just feels like we're coming to, like, everybody kind of came into this new year with, oh my god, this is going to be great. This year is going to be so much better than 2023. And it's just, like, fucking us over. Like, is it just me? I feel like everybody's sick. Everybody's, like, dealing with stuff. We had to deal with the car issues completely out of the blue, which we did deal with, but, like, I don't know. It's a weird start to the year. Is it not every year? I don't remember last year being going quite this hard this early. Like, 2023 was rough in different ways with, you know, peaks and valleys and kind of seemed to pace itself. But 2024, like, this better not be a pattern. What I'm hoping is we're getting all the shit out of the way now. And we'll just be done with it. Low expectations and still disappointed. Yeah, basically. And Matt Padisley, yeah, I saw that. Good for him, though, honestly, to be, like, retiring on his own terms. And I think he's still going to be producing and stuff in the background. So it's not like he's going away completely because, I mean, this is his job. This is what he does. So, you know. But it's nice. It's refreshing almost to see a YouTuber just sort of step back without any sort of scandal or crisis or anything and just be like, yeah, I think I've reached my peak. I'm done here. So, yeah. Can't really fault him for that. That's good vibes. Yeah, I do feel like, I don't know if it's just that people are more vocal about the shit they're going through now, which is good, probably, that we can talk about these things more, but, yeah, I feel like 2024 is challenging us in unique ways, so, yeah, but a quick Albie update. Albie's second surgery, I believe, is going to be end of next week. And they are bringing him over Tuesday night so I can spend some time with him before he ends up lame again for a while, which he's not going to be pleased about at all. He's going to be real mad now that they know what he's in for as far as not being able to get around. Like, it's harder the second one, I think, because they know how it's going to go. But But he heals fast. He's a good, healthy dog. So, and I'll get to see him Tuesday. Albie! He's my boy. So I'm going to make pretzel chicken. Albie can have a bite. And get some good cuddles in before he goes back under the knife. So. Okay, what else is going on? Definitely some changes coming to the channel in 2024. I've got a couple of things that I'm going to be releasing soon or announcing soon. One I've already done. The Cooteray Alien series is now up in a single audio instead of pieces. I've been kind of slowly going through my old series and trying to piece them together into a single long form audio. It's more challenging than I expected. The levels can be very different because these things were usually recorded months apart, in some cases years apart, and it is a lot to try and get them to sound fairly cohesive all the way through. But if that's the kind of thing people like, I'm definitely there for it. It's probably an easier listen than playlists. There's no mid-roll ads. And yeah, you can just set it and forget it and get, like, at least in the case of the Alien, you know, over an hour of content. I don't think I'll do that with the Vampire Roommate because that one is pushing like 9 hours of content, I think. That would be a really, really, really long video. So have a good one, Odin. Imagine having ads. I mean, I can't control because, you know, my options are either don't be monetized or let YouTube place whatever ads it wants at the front and end of the videos. So they used to let us choose. They used to let us decide if they were skippable or unskippable, if we wanted them at the front or the back. And I would always say skippable only and only at the front because I didn't want people to like fall asleep listening to one of my audios and then get jarred awake by some really loud ad at the end. But a few months ago, YouTube changed that and decided that the only control we get to have if we want to be monetized is whether or not to have mid-roll ads. It's literally a single click box. Yes or no. And I'm like, well, no, obviously I don't want mid-roll ads. And they're like, okay, we'll handle the rest of the ads then. And it's like, thanks. You guys kind of suck. So, but yeah, the alternative is just not be monetized, which even though the YouTube side of the income is pretty small, it's usually under $200 a month, it's still something, you know, it still counts. So it makes sense to have a series of compilations for the longer playlists. Maybe. I've also thought about going through and cutting some of the filler, but the problem is when I do like filler episodes, because with Vampire Roommate, I've told you guys this before, it kind of goes back and forth where, oh, Uncle JMD, hello. I've been on my YouTube streams all year. Oh my God, you're right. Thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you. That's very sweet of you. So yeah, the filler episodes, when I do Vampire Roommate episodes, if I do them very plot heavy, I'll get a bunch of comments from people being like, what happened to their sweet interaction? What happened to the romance? I missed that. And if I do a filler episode where it's focused more on them as a couple, I get a lot of, what happened to the plot? You stopped the plot. So, you know, there's really no pleasing everybody. So I try to kind of space them out and go back and forth, like, you know, silly Halloween episode followed by a very plot-driven episode. But even the filler ones, I try to put some plot in. Like even, you know, at the end of their wedding, there's the big arrival of the council and stuff like that. So like the fillers aren't really cuttable because of that, which I kind of shot myself in the foot doing that. But then again, I didn't want the fillers to just be fillers. So like I wanted them to be sweet, cute moments in their lives. I wanted them to be like a little break from the intrigue and the cloak and dagger bullshit, but still push the plot. So yeah, so can't really take out the fillers. And then as for the rest of it, like how to break it up, I guess would be the question, like which chunks to assemble and things like that. I don't know. I'll think about it. Vampire Roommate just may be too big. It's a massive undertaking. And I wanted to start with something a little more manageable, which is why I started with the Alien. Nice 4-part series, good solid ending, done. And even that took a lot longer than I thought to get it all compiled into a single file. So Dice Cream episode, yeah. See, that's filler, technically. First time catching the stream, welcome. Zol found the channel a couple of days ago and finished the Vampire series in a day or so. Yeah, it's a long one. You can just let it roll the playlist. That one may just stay a playlist. I've got some of the other ones. I might do like Elf Bandit's first season or first chapter, however you want to describe the breaks in that. Maybe the Mermaid, the Tsundere Mermaid. I don't know. I'm going back through and looking. Some of them are more adaptable to a single audio than others, but I thought it'd be kind of fun just to have that out there and to make that long form content available to you guys without having to worry about anything else. So I tried pitting the people who want plot versus casual against each other. I feel like they fight plenty in the comments. I mean, I realize that it's all just, everybody wants what they want, you know, and that's totally fine. And it's YouTube, so everybody feels very entitled to what they want. People on YouTube are the most comfortable making demands for absolutely no reason. Like, they're the most comfortable coming into comments and being like, I want this, I want that, where's the next part, give me this, and like not comprehending that they pay absolutely nothing for this, that this is the blood, sweat, and tears of creators who are trying to make things for them. And they just like, I will never stop laughing at the people who, if I put a fresh, like brand new audio, new character or something, everything's new, I drop that thing, and like in the first 12 hours it's live, somebody in the comments is like, part 2, where's part 2? It's like, bitch, this is part 1 and I just finished it. Like, please give me a minute. If there's a part 2, it will be eventually, whenever I can get around to it. But like, it's just the audacity of being like, well, where's part 2? I don't know, where is part 2? This is part 1. This is as far as I got. This might be the only part. This might be a one-off. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Should go cause arguments. No fighting in the comments. Stop that. But yeah. Like I said, the filler episodes aren't even really filler. They're just the more quiet downtime moments to sort of pace the plot, because otherwise it would be really a lot. It would be very dense. I mean, it is very dense, but it would be worse. And yeah. Is it good to say? So the best way to word that, instead of saying, where's part 2, would be something like, I hope this one gets a part 2, or I'd like to request a part 2 for this, it was good, or something like that. Like, it's okay to say you hope it gets it eventually, or you'd like to see more of the story. It's just the people that are just very demanding about it and be like, where is it? Where's part 2? It's like, locked away in my brain, potentially forever. And you guys know, like, I don't let them bully me into it. Like, the Sentient Mech didn't get a part 2 for like 2 years. The Saving the Superhero didn't get a part 2 for like 2 years, because I just didn't want to force it. I didn't want to like make myself write something that I didn't think was good. So I waited until I got some legitimate inspiration on those, and then it was like, oh, okay, I can go somewhere with this. So part 2. I was talking about part 2s in general, VOD. People that come into comments and demand a part 2, and part 1 literally just dropped. So yeah, I should go cause engagement and I mean, that's the tragic thing, is that fights in the comments actually do drive the algorithm, which sucks. Like, any comments, any likes, any shares, all that shit drives the algorithm. And I do a thing now where I wait until, like, for every audio I post, I pin my favorite comment on that audio, but I always give it a few days. So my cadence right now is that, like, if I post an audio and a few days later another one goes live, then I will go back and pin my favorite comment on that first one that's been live for like 3 or 4 days now, because I figured that's enough time. Most comments come in within the first 3 or 4 days. I still do get comments on older stuff sometimes, but it's very sporadic. So I pin my favorite comment, and that way, and it's whatever I like in that moment. There's no real like pattern to it. There's no rhyme or reason. It's just me looking at the comments going, oh, that's nice, and then like pinning it. I'd hoped that would encourage good behavior. I think I don't really think it's having any impact, I'll be honest. I don't think anybody's really noticing, but I do it anyway. I think it's a nice way to acknowledge the people that are contributing in a positive fashion. Starting my hunger strike until part 2. Good luck to you then. I don't respond well to pressure like that. I'd be like, yeah? Okay. You have fun. Random fun facts in the comments. People used to do that. There was a guy that used to do that. He hasn't lately, but like, yeah, there was a guy that would come in and make some random ass fun fact. And like, at first it was funny, and then it was just like, just because it's random doesn't make it funny, I guess. Maybe that's my not Gen Z side showing, but like random doesn't always equal funny. And I don't know. Sometimes I wonder if those even matter. Like if the algorithm is sophisticated enough to be able to tell if comments are just there to be like, bleh, comment. Like some people actually say comment for the algorithm, and I'm like, I wouldn't put it past YouTube to like know how to screen those. You know, if someone says comment for the algorithm, seems like a simple enough thing to filter out. Chat about what you enjoyed from the audio in the comments. Yeah, I mean, you can chat anywhere you want. You can chat on honestly, there's not a lot of conversation about the audios on Discord either, and that's okay. Like, the point of the Discord isn't necessarily to drive conversation about the audios. I mean, obviously there's a channel there for making suggestions if you guys have an idea, but mostly it's a hangout space. You know, it's your guys' space. It's a community space for you guys to use however the hell you want, and, you know, talk about whatever the hell you want. And the audios are they're just like the door, you know, they're going through the door, and then you're in this community, and then you don't have to just talk about the audios, which I like. I like that you guys have other things in common. I like that you guys have other things to talk about and share about, and like games and movies and shows and isopods and, you know, whatever else you guys are doing. I love that. I love that you guys are sharing it. So I don't expect there to be a lot of heated discussion in the Discord about the audios. And it could get weird if it did get like out of hand. So, yeah. So talk about it wherever you want. If you want to talk in the comments, if you want to talk in Discord, or if you just don't want to talk about it. Like, I feel like some people aren't necessarily comfortable discussing things like audio role plays. Like, it's kind of a personal thing. You put your headphones on, you listen to it, you're immersed in it. It's supposed to be something to make you feel better, feel comforted or whatever. And then like, there's not a whole lot to discuss maybe in that regard. Like, especially if your feelings toward it, if you're having like emotional reactions that are personal, you know, they're visceral, they're personal, and you don't necessarily want to share those. And that's totally okay. Like, I didn't really talk about audios back when I listened to them at all. You know, I didn't really feel comfortable doing that. It was my personal, like, falling asleep routine, I guess. So you've attempted to get petty and not make a part 2 despite the demanding people. It's not that I get petty about it. I'm not going to rush it for the demanding people. Like, when I see somebody demanding a part 2, my first thought is not to be like, well, no, because you asked for it. But it's more like, if I get to it, I get to it. But I'm not, like, that guy's opinion or that guy's demand is not influencing my decision. Part 2s come because I have an idea and I go, ooh, I can take that a little further. And so I do. Sometimes when I start an audio, I'll have like a series in mind, like the Kudere Alien. I kind of knew from the start where I was going with that, and then I can wrap it up, you know, cleanly. Other times I have like an arc in mind, like with the Elf Bandit. The first arc was completely formed in my head when I started it, and then the second arc was like a separate thought. So I just sort of like let those play out. But like the second arc was not on my mind when I did the first. It was just the first. And then when I was like, oh, I've got an idea for another arc, then I pick it up and take it again. So it really comes down to my thoughts, my vibe. Like, if I can come up with something I can do with it that's not gonna suck. Like, I don't ever want to brute force it. I have brute forced audios in the past, usually like comfort audios and stuff like that. They turn out okay. Most of the time people can't tell the difference, but I can. And I just don't love that. I don't love feeling like, oh, I'm on a deadline, I've got to crank something out. You know, I'd like to enjoy it a little more than that. So, is there a particular setting or genre that you haven't done yet but you want to? Um, Haven't really done much Western. I've thought about it. Like I tend to mix stuff up. So like, you know, like the sugar plum fairy who's got a Southern accent. Like, it's got the Southern vibe, but it's clearly not a Southern audio. It's like a Christmas audio. So, you know, I mean, I'm trying to think of anything specific genre-wise. I'll probably do some Western eventually, if I can think of a good, like, story to tell there. I don't know, things will just pop into my head. Like, a lot of the shitposting type ones, like, their radio station on the other planet, or some of the like job interview type ones where you find out at the end what you're actually doing there. Like, those just sort of pop fully formed into my head, and I'm like, yep, there we go. That's dumb, let's do it. And they're usually sci-fi or fantasy based when that happens. I'm not sure why. I guess just because that gives me a lot more flexibility in the universe. But like, you know, the halfling in the tavern that turns out to, you know, have a lot more to do with the beast in the woods. And it's like, I really don't know. Like, there's a lot of stories like that in lore and, you know, literature and cultures and stuff like that. So that's not really a surprise, but that just sort of pops into my head, and it's like, okay, I'll write that one down. And then away we go. We're nearly 700 audios into this channel now, which is kind of wild to me. That's a lot. 700 is a big number, and it's hard for me to even wrap my brain around the fact that I've written that many scripts. And sometimes I entirely forget. Like, I have all these files. I have a new Google Doc for every month, and each month's file ends up being around, I don't know, 75 to 100 pages long with, you know, 15,000 words of scripts. And I can look at my own, like, channel, look at my own list of videos and be like, huh, that's right, I did do that. But I don't remember until I see it. I'll be like, oh, that was clever of me, look at that. Like, something I did, you know, 2.5 years ago in another, like, lifetime. I may or may not even remember all that clearly, but in that moment it made perfect sense. So the point of the Discord is to contain you. Yeah. You have a hard time chatting in the comments without spoilers. Yeah, so, I mean, the ones that have twists, that's kind of rough. And some people don't care. They'll just go ahead and spoil it in the comments, which this is where the lack of engagement, I think, actually helps, because most people don't read the comments before they listen to the audio. They just don't. But this is my favorite thing. When somebody's in a hurry to comment, so they'll listen to like the first minute or two, and then they jump in the comments and start commenting. And then like 10 minutes later, there's an edit to their comment because they got to the end and discovered that it wasn't what they thought, or there was a massive twist or something, and then they have to go back and like edit their comment. I love that. I fucking love that. Because I'll see that comment come through and be like, oh, they haven't finished it yet. And then they'll get to the end, and then suddenly it's like edited on the comment. And I'm like, there it is. They finished it now. So yeah, that's fun for me. I'm not trying to mock that. I think it's great. Like, people are in a hurry to comment. They think they've got an opinion already, and it's like, we'll see about that. Yeah, that's fun. And I do like twists, and I know that that's not always a good thing. Like, some people just want to be, you know, zoned out, not focused, just soothed and left to their own devices, having something on the background without having to like pay attention to it. And I make that difficult, and I know that. But that's what the comfort audios are for. So, Yandere Cell Phone 15-part series. You guys can thank Citrate for the Yandere Cell Phone. That was his idea. As I literally crash into his DMs, and I'm like, I don't know what to do this week. I need an idea. And he's like, well, I have a terrible one. I'm like, give it. Give me your terrible idea. I love the terrible ideas. Western be appropriate. This is my crocodile hat. My Australian hat. Yeah. Party at 700. I mean, what are we at now? I don't know. 693 or something. It's up there. We're close. We're very close. That's a lot of re. It is a lot of re. And like I said, I look at some of my older stuff and I'm like, man, I was smart back then. I had good ideas. What happened to me? Like, it gets harder to get creative, I think. And I also have series that I want to continue. Like for a while there, I think like maybe 3 years ago, I think almost every audio I posted, and back then I was posting like 3 a week. Almost every audio I posted was like part of a series that was ongoing because I was juggling like 5 or 6 series at once, and I felt compelled to put out a new one every single month, like a new episode of each one. And then I realized, fuck it, I don't have to do that. I can actually space them out a little more. And I felt kind of bad because like, you don't have to wait that long for new episodes of like shows and stuff usually. Not for indie, like not they're dropping like one a week or something. And I was like, but I don't have it in me to drop one a week of every series. I'm just one person. So I had to give myself the grace to step back and be like, it's okay if there's like 2 months between episodes of this one, or, you know, even 3 months, or this one just wrapped a chapter. Let's take it on hiatus for a little bit and focus on some other things and get creative in other ways. So yeah, because I know I have a lot of series, and I also know that series can be a barrier to entry for listeners because they don't want to jump into a new channel and immediately start listening to something that's got like 15 parts. But they also can't like start at part 15 and know what the hell's going on. So like, yeah, it's a balancing act. I try to space it out between like about half and half every month, like series versus non-series audios. And the Olympians have a lot to do with that. There's a couple of Olympians who really like to take series forward. And so that's like kind of a given that I'm going to have to do those series every month. So I'm trying to like hit that good balance. Halfling is 10 out of 10. I'm glad you guys like that one. Squeeze a slice of life episode for a series into a Friday upload. Yeah, I've done that. I have done that in the past. That's been kind of a way of like working around because yeah, the Friday episodes are always slice of life, meet cutes, friends to lovers, comforts, things like that. And the Mondays are always the supernatural, fantasy, sci-fi story type things. But that's flexible. So like a Monday audio might include a bootlegger audio because the bootlegger ones are historic and that's not slice of life for now, so I can kind of wiggle that a little. And the Friday ones can absolutely be slice of life or filler episodes for like the vampire roommate or something because the supernatural element is not the key there. And I will absolutely do that sometimes. I have in the past. I will certainly do it again to work around the calendar because yeah, especially some months like all of the Olympians will have ideas for like comfort audios, which is great, but that means all the comfort audio slots for the month are pretty much filled, and I've got to come up with the non-comfort audios for the Mondays. So it's a juggling act, but I get there in the end. Hello. You have a manuscript for you to edit. Run away, Halo. You don't want that. Once a week for a season, then drops a 5-month break. Yeah, or more. A lot of shows are having much longer breaks because of the strike. So, like, there were shows that were supposed to come back in December that now aren't coming back till May, things like that, which is fine. Like, we've all learned to be patient. And it's funny to me, actually, that people on YouTube can be so demanding. And we talked about this before, but, like, the vibe of YouTube, you know, the model of it, is that, you know, creators create, viewers consume, and at no time do you have to pay for any of it if you don't want to. You know, as long as you have an internet connection, you can watch videos, you can consume that content, and there's bajillions of hours of it there, which has the effect of making people feel like it's not valuable. You know, that even if creators are spending hours or days or weeks or sometimes months doing research and creating these like long form, like 3-hour deep dives into, you know, plagiarism or something like that, like all that content is freely available, and making it free, which, you know, YouTube is not necessarily wrong to do, has the effect of making people feel not only entitled to it, but dismissive of it. You know, anytime that I put out a call for more support, I always get a handful of comments from people who are like, why should I support you? I can get it for free. It's right there. Or why should I support you if your channel disappears? Like, there's a million other channels just like you. And it can be very disheartening to have your content, have the work you do be undervalued in that way because of the model, because that's how the platform works. And people will pay for things like Netflix, and they'll grumble about the price increases, but they'll still pay it. And then be okay with, delays in release dates or sudden breaks in filming and stuff like that, or whatever else happens on those platforms to make you wait longer for the content that's coming. And some of it's out of anybody's hands, like the strike, did delay things, and that's good. Strikes are supposed to be disruptive, that's the point. And as long as the actors and writers and stuff got good concessions, then it's worth it. But people will grumble and be like, oh man, I gotta wait a few more months for my thing. But they'll still do it, they'll still wait, because they're paying for that platform. And you'd think it would be the opposite. You'd think that because they're paying for it, they'd be more demanding. They'd be more, hey, I'm giving you money. You need to give me the content that I'm paying for. But instead, they just kind of roll with it. Whereas on YouTube, you'd think it would be more of a culture of gratitude. Like, wow, thank you for creating all this content that I don't have to pay for. And instead, it's the opposite. It's the entitlement thing. It's the, how dare you not put out exactly what I want all the time? How dare you take a break? How dare you, suggest that people should support you? And it's just the weirdest, like, almost psychological experiment, I guess. Like, from my perspective, it's fascinating that the way we value content and the way we value these services and these platforms and our connection to how much we pay for, how much we're required to pay for the access versus how much we get for free. And it's really kind of fascinating. And I know how much these creators are putting into some of these videos. Like, holy shit, there's a couple of creators that I support who, I'm lucky if they put out one video a year, but those videos are bangers. Like, they're long and they're complicated. They're so well researched and they're so well edited. And it's like, damn, like, you go. Like, I know you've been working your ass off on this. And it's impressive, and that support is how they can do it. That support is how they can make that content. And it's so good, so much. And I wish I could support more creators. I wish I could support everybody that's ever been on in the background while I'm doing something else, or give me something to look at while I'm eating dinner, like, I wish I had the ability to do that. If I ever win the lottery, I fucking will. But, like, it is fascinating to me how the nature of free content makes people not value that content psychologically, and then also demand it on their terms far more than they do with the stuff they're actually paying for. So, yeah. That's my fun little observation about how psychology impacts the platform. Most off-the-wall YouTube recommendation that I ended up enjoying. Ooh. That's a tough one. So we've got several different accounts going at once. I've got, my work account, which gives me certain recommendations. I got my personal account, which gives me different ones. We've got the one through our TV, which is one of Lupus's accounts. And that's a totally different algorithm. Most of the YouTube watching I do is through the TV lately, so I'm trying to think of what's popped up on there. And some of that, like, if he's watching stuff on his computer and then he comes out to the TV, like, he just influenced the algorithm and I didn't know it, so we'll start getting some really interesting recommendations, and I'm like, ooh, where did this come from? And it's like, it's not really just popping up, it's because he watched something. So he finds the cooler things. Let me think about that. I might go in and look at my actual front page, look at my feed, see what's on it. You got me thinking. Hang on, let me see. I don't know. This is really, like, thought-provoking. All right, YouTube, what do you got for me? That's all Warhammer stuff, so that's definitely Lupus's. Man, a lot of creators are retiring, aren't they? Good for them. Good for them going out on their own terms. I remember a long time ago when Folding Ideas turned up in my feed. Folding Ideas is really, really good. Like I said, that was a long time ago, but like even today when I see Folding Ideas in my feed, I'm like, ooh, that's nice. The one that got me in to Folding Ideas was, it's called A Lukewarm Defense of 50 Shades of Grey, the movie. And I like it because he's a very unassuming guy. I think he's married to Lindsay Ellis in real life, actually. But because you can hear them on each other's channels sometimes, but very, very rarely. And he basically is explaining how the movie making... No, he's not into Warhammer. Folding Ideas is not into Warhammer. Oh, Lupus is into Warhammer, yes. Lupus is into 40K, very, very much. He's gotten me into 40K, and yeah, I could watch that shit all day long, I'll be honest. But Folding Ideas is more about video essays about different things, games, books, movies. NFTs at one point. He explained NFTs really well. But the Lukewarm Defense of 50 Shades of Grey, the movie, is focused entirely on how the movie making takes a really, really, really bad book and turns it into something passable. It's still not good, like content-wise. The content is not good. But the changes that were made between in the adaptation of the book were significant enough to make the movie, as he puts it, like kind of okay. Like there's potential there. After the first movie, though, they fired the screenwriter and director, who were both women who were actually good, and brought in people who the author liked better, one of whom was her husband. Her husband was brought in as the new screenwriter. So people she could browbeat, I guess, basically. And then the movie's just tanked. Absolutely tanked. Set builder in the 50 Shades movie. Stephanie Meyer did not write the 50 Shades books. E.L. James wrote the 50 Shades books. Her real name is Erica Mitchell. And she is absolutely a monster. By all accounts, she is a monster. Stephanie Meyer is surprisingly not. Stephanie Meyer, she wrote the Twilight books. And the 50 Shades books are fan fiction of the Twilight books. They started as fan fiction called Master of the Universe. And E.L. James was writing under the pen name Snow Queen's Ice Dragon at the time, which, why are fanfic writers always like that? But, and it was very much a direct ripoff of Twilight, like a lot of the same beats and stuff like that. When it was initially written, it was, Edward Bella, and then when it was picked up for publication, it was changed to Anastasia and Christian and all that shit. But Stephanie Meyer, who wrote the Twilight books, is surprisingly chill. Like, she could have pitched a massive fit about 50 Shades. She had every right to. But that would have led to lawsuits involving the legality of fanfic, and that would have been probably very disastrous for a lot of the internet, not just for fanfic, but for any sort of transformative fair use, parody, inspirational stuff, operating within the same universe of things. People can't own tropes, but they can own, intellectual property and the universe things exist in. So it could have been very, very messy if Stephanie Meyer had said, you know what, I'm not going to allow this. What's funny about that is that E.L. James, who, made her fortune writing fanfic about Twilight, is one of the most obnoxious people when it comes to slapping down derivative works. She doesn't want anything out there that's based on her thing. She doesn't want anything based on 50 Shades. So even though like it's the most hypocritical bullshitter you'll ever see in your life. But yeah. It's so Twilight, for all of its faults, and it does have faults, isn't, it's dumb cheese for teenage girls, which is fine. Whatever. Everybody gotta have their dumb cheese. Boys have Fast and Furious, I guess, and girls have Twilight. But Stephanie Meyer is mostly harmless. Like, she's not a great writer, and obviously the relationship dynamics in Twilight are not healthy. but it's a wish fulfillment book about pretty vampires, and she was a Mormon housewife with a bunch of kids who got married very young and needed an outlet. She wrote a series of books kind of loosely related to Mormonism, honestly. If you read the descriptions of Joseph Smith in like Mormon literature, and then you read the descriptions of Edward Cullen, they're very similar. Very white, very hot. Yeah, chiseled jaw. Anyway, whatever. She can be into her profit. That's cool. But she was very, very chill about it. And she said herself in interviews, like, Edward and Bella shouldn't be role models. Like, these should not be people you're aspiring to be like. That's not the point. And when people asked her about 50 Shades, she was like, well, I guess good for her, but I'd rather they not be associated with my books. You know, those are smut and I don't write smut kind of thing, which totally fair. That's fine. Yeah, Stephanie Meyer got a bit of a rough deal. She was roughly handled for writing mediocre books, which there are people that have written far worse and didn't get treated like she got, so. And like I said, I'm not saying the Twilight books are good. They're not. But it's not at the level of bad that like 50 Shades is, where the vitriol is much deserved, and E.L. James is awful. So, yeah. Don't read the 50 Shades things. But Folding Ideas video on the lukewarm defense of the first movie is pretty good. It breaks down what's truly bad about the books, especially the first book. Because the movie is like... The first movie is the original Master of the Universe fanfic had like a massive first part, and then she wrote like a second part to it. So the first part is what the first two movies come from, basically. So he breaks down what works and what doesn't, and especially with like the cinematography, the costume design, the lighting, the choices to take away things like the first person narration inside Anna's head for the whole books, the decision to not infantilize her for the duration of the trilogy, you know, things like that. Definitely worth a watch. I like Folding Ideas. I like that he's kind of chill and just seems like this regular kind of put upon guy who's just like done with people sucking at filmmaking. Like he's tired of it. But NG, I absolutely believe you when you say that whoever had to deal with E.L. James on set, yeah, they are not wrong. By all accounts, she was awful and would get vocally angry anytime people tried to change something about her terrible, terrible books. So, yeah. My new favorite channel is Tasting History. I watched Tasting History the other day. That's been turning up in my feed. We watch a lot of cooking stuff. We watch a lot of like Babish and Josh Weissman and stuff like that. So Tasting History turned up. I watched the Wiener Schnitzel one yesterday while I was like working out. I was like, huh, okay, interesting. I don't hate it. It feels like, I don't know if I could watch it a lot because it just, I don't know. It's one of those things that I can watch in small bits, but I like it. 50 Shades fic, Anastasia says no. Yeah, well, honestly, in the end of the first book, she does say no. She leaves. And that's absolutely the best way to end it. And they end the first movie that way, too. She walks out. She's done. He did not respect her boundaries, and she's done. That would have been a great place to leave it. Just end it there. No more books, no more movies. The end. But yeah, and he also goes on to do 2 more videos about the next 2 movies and where they get really fucking bad. So I strongly recommend. Yeah, Folding Ideas in general is very good. Let's see, I think that the Folding Ideas guy is married to Lindsay Ellis. It's something that I've seen around, and I know she got married a few years ago, and they're pretty private about it, obviously, which is, you know, good. But that group kind of does a lot of work together and does voiceovers for each other's channels, and they're also friends with Jenny Nicholson, and she does a lot of traveling to like Disney stuff for her videos, and so they'll go with her on stuff like that. So yeah, it's a good group. I like that group. Max grows on you, does he? Like, he's not the problem. It's more about just, I don't know. I have a hard time getting into cooking stuff more than like I'll like watch one episode of Babish and then be like, okay, I'm good. Like, I don't have to like binge that sort of thing. And the worst is when Lupus puts stuff like that on before dinner or something, and I'm like, I'm hungry. Like, and we're just sitting there watching the clock like, we're not going to eat too early. We're not going to eat too early. We'll be hungry later if we eat too early. Yeah. Ate leather like Captain Morgan? Jesus. Wow. Yeah, like I said, I watched the Wiener Schnitzel one yesterday, and I'm trying to think of the other one. There was another one that I watched that was pretty good. It's got to be challenging to like piece together those old recipes and figure out what the hell they were getting at. Like, what did you mean by that? What is that measurement? Doesn't make any sense. Yeah, I like that part. What else? What else have I liked lately? I like Daniel Green when he does the rate your bookcases thing. I like that a lot, actually. What else? That's a lot of Warhammer stuff right there. Obviously Jenny Nicholson, I've always loved her. Trey Crowder's pretty good. His videos are short, but he's a liberal redneck, so he's fun to listen to. Cracker Milk is great. If you don't know Cracker Milk, Cracker Milk and Auntie Donna are like my favorite Australian comedy shit on YouTube. Strongly recommend Cracker Milk, but it's pretty weird, so just, keep that in mind. Tom Cardy, of course, with his music. Oh, there's the thumbnail. Which Primarch should come back next and who shouldn't? I know who should come back next. Jagatai Khan should come back next, even though I want Vulcan back. He'll probably be last because he was the last to go. What else? Who are these people I'm following? Who are these people? Eddie Burback. I like Eddie Burback a lot too. His eating his way through every rainforest cafe in North America was a slog. I felt for him. I've eaten at the ones in Orlando and Texas, so I very much relate. I do not binging with Babish. No, I'm a failure in that regard. It's very sad. I can't, like either I want to get up and start making something, which I don't have the ingredients or equipment for, or I just get hungry watching it and I'm like, ugh, I guess I'll snack again, which is a bad thing. So I try to manage myself in that way. But like, it makes me want to get a stand mixer. Like Babish more than anything makes me want to get a stand mixer. And stand mixers are stupid expensive. They're like hundreds of dollars. But everybody that has one swears by them. And I'm like, like I had the same thing with the air fryer before I ever got an air fryer. Like, people are right, air fryers are great, everybody should have one, but air fryers are a lot cheaper than a stand mixer. So never eaten in a Rainforest Cafe. So Rainforest Cafe is very mid, and obviously you're in it for the atmosphere, you're in it for the really shitty animatronics. Some of them are maintained better than others. Definitely check out Eddie Burback's video about his eating at every Rainforest Cafe if you want like the full experience. The food is meh. It's very expensive for what it is, at least the ones in Orlando are. The one I have the most experience with is the one at Disney Springs, which is, there at the Disney area, and it's got a big volcano and it's very cool, and like that looks neat, but the food is okay. And then every 20 minutes there's a storm and all the animals go apeshit. There's a sister restaurant also at Disney Springs called the T-Rex, and it's exactly the same format except it's dinosaurs, And every 20 minutes, instead of a rainstorm, it's the meteor shower that kills all the dinosaurs. So everything goes dark and rumbly, and the sky gets red, and the dinosaurs all freak the fuck out, and then it just goes back to normal for the next 20 minutes. It's real dark when you give it some thought. But animatronic dinosaurs are cool, so what's not to like? Out of the two, I'd rather eat the T-Rex, I'll be perfectly honest. But the food is about the same. The prices are unnecessarily high, but it's a tourist area, so what are you gonna do? And the food it's okay. It's not as good as it should be for the price, but it's okay. You're there for the vibe. You're there for the loud noises and the decor, the immersive decor. Like, that's what you're there for. So Vulcan will probably be the last because Vulcan's my favorite. I love Vulcan. He gives the best hugs. The salamanders are my jam. Those are the guys I've been painting. Very happy with my salamanders. And Vulcan will take forever to come back, which is okay. Meanwhile, we have our fish Gillyman, who's depressed. We got new fish. We had our ultramarines, the neon tetras. All but one of them died, so we got some new fish. We got some very fancy, very brightly colored guppies. So they're our Primaris marines, and they are pushy as hell. They've got so much energy. They're so big. They're so aggressive. They're so just like, every time I feed them, it's like they've never ever eaten in their whole life. So yeah, they're the next generation. They're the new ones. And I think they push Gillyman around a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. Like, he spends a lot of time hiding in the corner now that they're in the tank. So, which, okay, that's cool. Super late. What did you miss? We're talking about YouTube videos and restaurants. Rainforest Cafe. People keep talking about Rainforest Cafe and they worry about chain restaurant culture. Yeah, America is entirely chain restaurant culture. That was one of the changes that I had to adjust to moving here to Australia, was the lack of chain restaurants. I'd never, like, even in the UK, there were a lot more chain restaurants than there are here. And here, obviously, there's the fast food ones, the McDonald's, the Subways, things like that. But as far as like sit down family style chain restaurants, not really a thing here. There's local pubs, there's local bistros and cafes and stuff like that. And a lot of counter service type places where, you order at the counter and get the little puck and then they buzz you when your food's ready, kind of thing. But yeah, not like the Chili's or the Rainforest Cafe vibe, which Rainforest Cafe is a little bit of an anomaly because it is way more about the theming than most of the chain restaurants in the US. Like places like Chili's and TGI Fridays and stuff like that, they just sort of exist to give you booths to sit in and weird shit on the walls and a waiter or waitress who will come and take care of you and get your food, and because of that, like, well, not because of that, but America's got such a heavy tipping culture, which I don't necessarily agree with. I think we should pay everybody a living wage. And in Australia here, they do pay everybody a living, well, not a living wage, but, enough. And they don't screw, like, service people and wait staff out of wages because of tips. So you're not expected to tip here. But also because of that, it's a very different vibe in restaurants. Like, the few places that I do think of when I think of, like, going to sit down and eat, even then, like, a waiter might come and take your drink order or something. But your food, you'll probably order up at a register. And then they might bring it to you, but then when it's time to pay, you get up and go to that same register. Like, they don't bring you a check. They don't come check on you periodically, make sure everything's good. They don't come give you drink refills. There's no free drink refills in most of these places. If you want another drink, you buy another drink. And that's, how it works. So it's a very different vibe. It's very much more hands-off, which is okay. Like, it's different. Nothing wrong with that. But yeah, in America, you're much more used to, somebody seating you at a table, somebody coming and checking on you, taking your drink order, taking your food order, bringing you your food, checking on you, getting you those refills, getting you anything else you need, and then bringing you the check at the end of the meal. That's the more American, like, sit-down restaurant culture. So, which is fine. Again, different, not necessarily worse. I wish it wasn't based entirely on tips. But yeah, it's just a different style. So yeah, in America, you've got like the Chili's and the TGI Fridays and places like that. And then the rainforest cafes, or similarly gimmicky ones where it's the same model, but you're not there for the food. You know, nobody goes to Rainforest Cafe because they super love the ribs or something. Like, they go there because it's kitschy and it's got the cool animals and their kids are screaming about wanting to go there. And, you know, it's a vibe. It's just a vibe. The bar areas tend to be kind of nice, though. Like fish tanks and stuff, so I like those. I'm not going to say don't go to Rainforest Cafe if you're around one. It is a thing. Like, Lupus has said if we're ever around one, he wants to go just to be like, I went to the Rainforest Cafe. You know, just to say he did. Which, okay, sure. You can do the same with Hooters or anything else. It's kind of gimmicky. Like, go nuts. But don't expect the food to be the point. Like, it's not the point. The food is not the point. So, the T-Rex is cool, yeah. Yeah, I don't think the sit-down chain culture thing is going to make it to Australia, at least not at the level it is in America. It's very prevalent in America. Just mid-range. Like, there's also very nice restaurants, obviously. There's really, really nice fancy places to go in America. And we have those here, too. Again, slightly less so that I've seen. Like, I can think of a few in the Perth metro area that are, like, legitimately white tablecloth fancy joints. But... And again, a lot of it too is just the culture. Like, some countries are more about dining out culture. I feel like Australia is a little bit less about dining out and more about like backyard barbecues, family dinners, getting a bucket of chicken with your mates kind of thing. Like, it's less about going and sitting in a restaurant. You know, it's less of the vibe. Maybe more of like a tapas kind of place. Pubs are fine, because that's more of a social thing. And the focus tends to be more the bar than the food. Like, most of the pubs we go to here, massive bar menu and like sort of an afterthought food menu. There is one place we really like here. It's like a Canadian American type place. And again, you order at the counter and then, you know, pay at the counter kind of thing. But they have like nachos and burgers, and they have poutine, which is really good. They have chicken and waffles. Like, their interpretation of American and Canadian food, which ain't bad. It ain't bad. It's pretty good. So, American tourists hate it. Which part do the American tourists hate? The lack of tipping culture, the lack of, like, full-service restaurants. Yeah, Rainforest Cafes, as a one-off, they're fine. It's, like I said, it's a gimmick. It's animals. The food is okay. It's not bad food. It's just, for what it is, I don't think it, you know, I think it costs too much, but it's okay. You're not there for the food. You know, you're there for the experience. And it's the kind of thing, like, it's a special occasion kind of thing. And, like, our equivalent as grown-ups, like, our equivalent is the Brazilian place, where they walk around with the swords with the meat on them and, you know, cut the meat off the swords and give you meat. Like, that's, like, the grown-up Rainforest Cafe for us, because like it's not really a gimmick. It's just, it's different, it's special, it's more expensive than usual, and you probably will only go there because it's a special occasion. You know, you wouldn't just go there for a random Tuesday dinner. I feel like every time we go to the Brazilian place, the whole room is full of people like having birthdays, anniversaries, you know, celebrating something, which is cool. It's cool when you go to a restaurant and everybody in the room is celebrating something. Like, that's a special occasion place, and I like that. I like that kind of place. It's always a fun vibe. And that's why you can't go very often, because it'll ruin the fun vibe. Thank you, Derek. Thank you. Happy New Year to you, too. It's a Kalana. Hello. How do they make their poutine? I mean, I don't know exactly how they make it. I know it's like steak fries, like kind of bigger, thicker fries, and there's gravy, and there's cheese curds, and I mean, it's good. That's all I can tell you. It's a big pile. Oh, the full service thing. Yeah. Yeah. I could see how Americans might come to Australia and be like, what the hell? But like, you get used to it. Like, that was like my first week here. I was like, huh, that's different. And then you just sort of adjust and you move on. Same with light switches and power sockets and driving on the wrong side. Like, you adjust and you move on. It's just life. I don't understand how people get bent out of shape about it, especially when it's like you're choosing to be around this different culture Embrace it. Experience it. My parents are coming in 2 months. My parents are coming on like March the 13th or something. And they're staying for a couple of weeks. And they've got their place booked, and they've got their airfare booked. And I don't know what to do with them. I will come up with some things to do with them. They're not renting a car because I do not trust my father to drive on the correct side properly. I think it would freak him the fuck out. And yeah, with good reason. So we'll be driving them around if we need to go anywhere, or they can walk. But like, my parents have done a lot of world traveling. They've been all over Europe. They've been all over like Mexico, Central America, South America. They've never been to Australia though. So I feel like culturally they'll be fine because they have spent a lot of time in other countries. They do know not to be ugly Americans. You know, they're smart people. They're generally nice people. They will defer to the local culture. They might badmouth it behind closed doors later, but, you know, whatever. They're judgy people. It happens. But I can't really think of anything that's going to shock them too much. Like, I've been trying lately to think about, like, what was it that I took a while to adjust to when I moved here? And it's hard to remember because I'm all adjusted now. You know, I can't really remember what it was that threw me when I first moved here. Like, something, like, I remember thinking the trees looked strange, like, kind of Seussian, especially the gum trees. And the traffic thing, of course, on the other side, and... but I'm trying to think of the little things that kind of made me go, oh, that's different, you know, that I had to adjust to. And I just don't know because I'm all acclimated now. So, Fogo de Chao. Yes. Brazilian. Man, if you haven't tried Brazilian barbecue, definitely do that. But again, that's a special occasion thing as well because it's usually a single fee, you know, flat fee that isn't cheap. But covers everything, covers all the meat, and usually like a buffet of side dishes or past side dishes and stuff like that, and you just eat. Our Brazilian place is, I think, like $60 a person, but that's Australian dollars, so it's like $40 American, which I think is really reasonable for the fact that you can sit there for an hour and a half and just eat meat until you throw up. Like, it's just, it's pretty good. But it is very much a special occasion thing. And obviously, of course, drinks cost extra and stuff like that. So we went there for Lupus's birthday. And we went there for the anniversary of moving into this house. Those are the only 2 times we've gone there. Both times totally worth it. But yeah. If you get a chance to go, though, it's a special occasion or something, definitely do it. Highly recommend. If you like meat. If you don't like meat, you're going to have a bad time. Get the meat sweats. Yes. Dinner and a show. Have you ever been to dinner theater? Yes. I'm trying to think. So I went to one of those murder mystery dinner things once where you're like supposed to solve the murder during the dinner. All I remember about that was it was kind of awkward. Like, I was a little uncomfortable. But I was like 15 and my parents took me, so maybe everything made me uncomfortable then. It's hard to remember. Yeah, that was kind of meh. Other dinner theater type stuff. Like, I've been to stuff like that at Disney World. And also there's movie theaters where you can, like, you sit in your seat at the movies and then you can, like, press a button to order food from a full menu, like, have it brought to you in the movie theater, which, as movies become longer and longer, is not a terrible thing. So I've done that a few times. That was pretty fun, just getting like burgers and stuff delivered to my seat at the movie theater. I don't mind dinner and a show. I think it's fine as long as they don't fuck with you too much while you're trying to eat. My parents get to meet Albie. Maybe. Lupus's family have all expressed an interest in meeting my parents, so I guess we'll see how that goes. I don't know. It's gonna be a thing, but it's fine. Silver standard, not gold. Okay. Yeah. I mean, the gold standard, I don't think has really meant much in a very long time, so I don't think most currency is backed. I don't think American currency is backed by the gold standard anymore. So Japanese hibachi is good. Very much recommend that as well. That's another sort of experience type of thing. These are all experience type of things. Hibachi is good if you get to sit and like have shrimp flipped into your mouth and all that stuff. The chefs are always so talented. It's just fun to watch them. And I could sit and watch those guys do that shit all day. It's really fun. So yes, as far as special occasion places, if you don't want the big gimmicky animatronic animals and shit like that, then definitely recommend Brazilian barbecue or Japanese hibachi. Or really good buffets can be pretty good. There's a casino here called the Crown, and they have a restaurant that's got this really, really nice, like, fancy buffet. And I like buffets because I like to graze. I like to get just a couple of bites of many, many different things. I hate to commit to just a single entree if I have a choice. So buffets are my jam. And I know that I'm largely paying, like, I'm not eating enough to justify the cost, but what I'm paying for is the selection. I'm paying for getting to try a million different things on one plate. And that's, you know, to me, that's worth it. But again, as a special occasion. And Lupus and I've been there like once, and it was really, really good. It's one of those things where you really got to pace yourself, though, because, man, you can go hard and then be like, oh shit, we've only been here half an hour and I'm full. So yeah, always pace yourself at these things. Korean barbecue. Yep, Korean barbecue is also good. We actually, I told you guys about the night we went to the cricket trivia. Lupus's brother-in-law's cricket club had their trivia night, their annual trivia night. And before we went to that, we had Korean barbecue for dinner with his sister. And it was really, really nice. And also, like, fondue places. Like, I haven't seen one here, but, like, in the U.S., there's the Melting Pot is one. And there's another one I can't think of the name of. But those places, again, expensive, special occasion places. When I still lived in the U.S., I would go to the Melting Pot for my birthday, like, every other year. And if you do, like, the full 3-course thing, then, like, for the first course, they bring you, because you got the burner at your table, they bring you the pot of cheese and, like, vegetables and bread to dip the cheese in. And then the second course, they bring you a pot of either, like, oil or broth. You choose. And then meat and other vegetables, and you cook the meat and stuff in the broth or oil. And then the last course, you choose between, like, melted chocolate or, like, melted caramel or, like, bananas Foster. And they bring you, like, a bunch of cake and fruit and then marshmallows, and then you dip all that. You are guaranteed to be uncomfortably full when you are finished. But, oh my God, so good. Oh my God. Like, so, so good. And it's frustrating to me because, like, I want to go back and go to a fondue place just to, like, cleanse my memory palette a little. Because the last time I went there was on my birthday a few years ago. And, well, not a few years ago now, I guess more than that, because it's been, COVID has really fucked with my perception of time. But my long-term boyfriend at the time took me there for my birthday and then gave me a lovely purse for a gift and then told me he was breaking up with me. So, not a great birthday. And not a great association with the fondue place. So, and honestly, it was for the best. He was not a great boyfriend, but his timing could not have been worse. Like, of all the times, like, he waited until we got home from the restaurant to tell me this, but yeah. I still have the purse, though. I like it. It's actually right behind me. I might take it with me when I go out today. I stab. Woo! Random question that entered my brain. You're given 3 years of intensive all-expense paid training for a sport of your choice? Oh, God. Stunt riding. Horses. That way I can just get back on horses. I miss it. When is it ever a good time? I mean, it's never a good time to break up with somebody, but there are worse times than others. On someone's birthday is generally considered not a great choice, I think. Valentine's Day, also not a great choice. Christmas Day, try to leave the major occasions alone for things like that. Like, let them just be major occasions, unless it's such an incredibly toxic and horrible and abusive situation that you can't help but get out. But like, nah. One place I enjoyed was in Mongolian barbecue is really nice too. I haven't been to one in forever because again, they don't have it here. But yeah, having like going and getting like the pile of meat and having them cook it there with like the big circular. Yeah, I like that a lot too. And that one's a little more reasonable, I think, like price wise. It's not on the level of like a Brazilian barbecue or a really, really, really fancy buffet or anything like that. You can tell he wasn't great by that interaction. Yeah. Isn't it weird, though, how you can't always tell that when you're in it? Like, we can convince ourselves of so many terrible things when we're in a situation. Like, we can tell ourselves that things are okay or that certain things are normal or acceptable when they're definitely not. And we sure as shit wouldn't, like, tell our friends that was normal if they were the ones in that situation. But for ourselves, we will take a lot. We will put a lot on ourselves. We will endure so much for absolutely no reason. I think sunk cost has a lot to do with it. If you're with somebody long enough, you start thinking that it's a waste of time if you try to get out. But like, nope. I don't consider any of my previous relationships a waste of time. I learned something from all of them. There's a few that I wish hadn't gone on as long as they did. And there's a few that I wish hadn't ended the way they did. But none of them were fully a waste. Well, I take that back. The one that was really abusive was probably technically a waste. Like, I did learn things from that, but I think that's a net negative as far as like what I learned versus what I put up with in that situation. But even then, still learned a lot and still formed a lot of who I am. So learning what not to put up with, it's a good start. Is laying on the couch a sport? Yes. Yes, it is. Boxing. Yeah, I did kickboxing for a year or two right before COVID. I had to stop because COVID. But I was going 4 or 5 times a week. And my boxing was getting really good. But I was really fucking up my shoulders. Like, I think I was punching the bag too hard or something because my shoulders are really starting to... Like, I was getting real tingly, like, nerve pain and stuff down my arms. And it was not great. And this was, I mean... my trainer and stuff, we did a lot of stretching. We did a lot of warm-up stuff. Like, it wasn't just walk in and start punching. And, we did hand wraps. We did all the stuff you're supposed to do to help, like, minimize the damage. But, yeah, it was still kind of rough. So I'm kind of glad that I stopped doing that. And when COVID hit, I contacted them. And, well, I didn't at first. I just was like, I wonder how they're going to handle this. Because, obviously, like, there wasn't any real mandated lockdown in the U.S. Like, there were some local laws and stuff in different places, but I was in Florida and it was very sporadic. And so they're trying to decide, like, should we make things closed? Should we make things, and so the gym took it very, very lightly at first, which in retrospect, I'm still mad about it, but I kind of get why. Like, they probably thought it was no big deal. Like, people at the start didn't really realize how big a deal COVID was going to be. So they started posting things to their Facebook of, like, basically making fun of people who didn't push through and come to the gym. Like, don't let some silly virus keep you from working out. And then, like, they posted a group of people standing with their bags and being like, look, we're 6 feet apart. And they were, like, 2 feet apart. Like, it was just, and I was like, are they making fun? So I sent them a message and I was like, you might want to reconsider your social media there, pal, because, like, you kind of seem like you're shitting on people who are struggling with what is looking like it's going to be a pandemic, and people are actually dying out there. And, like, I'm really disappointed, and I'm not going to be coming back during this, like, whole COVID thing because it's dangerous. I'm not going to be there. And they were like, oh, well, you just asking for a refund? We'll process a refund. And I was like, I'm not asking for anything back, because I knew I was under contract. I was like, I don't care about the money. I care that you guys have a shitty attitude about COVID on your Facebook page. And they seemed more concerned, like, their instant response was refund, which I thought was interesting, not to acknowledge any of the shit they were doing. And then people started commenting on some of their posts being like, this is really bad taste, like, you should really take this down. And they finally did. But at that point, like, they were kind of in damage control mode, and I was like, yeah, this is a good time to just not be affiliated with them anymore. So, yeah. Anyway, but yeah, I liked it while I did it. I brought my gloves and stuff here just in case I start doing it again. But yeah, I don't know. The shoulder thing really kind of got me. I was really good with kicks though. I've got very strong legs. So, but yeah, boxing is fun. Just if you do get into it, definitely watch your shoulders. And your head. Trying to take too many blows to the head. It's not good for you. Start boxing again, take the nerve for. Lupus has gloves too. He tells that story all the time about the punching bag thing. How last December, after he and I had been in this house for a few months, his mom came to visit. His mom and sister came to visit, and he was taking them on the tour of the house because we'd officially gotten completely moved in. We had all our furniture and stuff, and he showed them our gym. And his mom saw the boxing gloves and was like, "Oh, you got boxing gloves. Well, where's the punching bag?" And he was like, "She's in America right now." And his mom did not find that funny. I thought it was fucking hilarious. I lost my shit when I heard that. His mom was not amused. So, yeah. But that's the punching bag joke. And that was the last time I went back to America. I was back for like 9 or 10 days last December. So you know how to kick someone's ass? I mean, I know the different punches. I feel like I wouldn't really, like, kicking someone's ass is very different than kickboxing, you know, like form and technique and exercise and cardio and all that shit. Like, it's very different when you're in an actual fight. It's not like anybody's following the rules. You know, there's hair pulling, there's biting, there's scratching, there's clawing, there's yanking, there's a lot more to an actual fight than punching, unfortunately. Boo. Yeah, it was funny though. Come on. Like, he couldn't miss the opportunity. And I do not blame him. Like, it would not be funny if he actually hit me, of course. Like, actual domestic abuse is never funny. But he was fucking with his mother, and it was funny at the time, so. But I have a good sense of humor. I mean, it's all in the spirit of where it comes from. Sense of humor obviously varies depending on the situation. Like, if I'm around people I don't know very well, and they make jokes like that about me, no. Now, you've got to be at a comfort level with people to make jokes like that, or to be comfortable with stuff like that. And like, he and I, we can tease each other, we can poke at each other because we know it's all in good fun. And you also follow that stuff up with, you know, care. Like, you don't have that be the only interaction that you have. So yeah, it's fine. But strangers, no. Like, it's always weird to me when I get around a new person and they're like instantly very buddy to the point of like making fun. And it's like, do I know you well enough for that? I don't think I do. Maybe I'm in the wrong here, but you know, it's great that you're so comfortable, but like, I'm not there yet. I'm kind of slow to warm up to people. Once I do, I'm fine. But I am a little slow to warm up to people. Ripping out jewelry. Yeah, that's the other thing. Even when I was a kid, like, I remember my brother beating me with a pillow. Like, 'cause my brother and I fought a lot. And he was beating me with a pillow, and it caught on one of my earrings. The corner of the pillow caught on my earring, and he yanked and like tore my ear. And it's still like, I've got a hole there now that's like big enough to put a pencil through. I don't like it. I can't really do anything about it. So yeah, jewelry is a dangerous thing in a fight. Yeah, my brother and I, we fought a lot until he got bigger than me, because he's 2 years younger than me, but he's bigger than me. And at that point, I just started like paging our dad every time he tried to kick my ass. I just became a big tattletale because that's the only weapon I had. I couldn't really fight back, so I just paged dad, which he hated. I got to the point where I was almost like daily paging dad. But yeah. Just found my channel while browsing. Oh, thank you. Have a great night or day. It's day here. It is 9:23 in the morning in Western Australia on Thursday. When did the clocks change back? I know they changed back in March, right? 2024 daylight savings. USA. I gotta specify. March 10th. Okay. We have until March 10th. Then the clocks change again. So right now we're 13 hours ahead of you guys on the east coast of the US, 16 hours ahead of you guys on the west coast of the US. But when the clocks change again, you guys will spring forward and we will then be 12 hours ahead of the east coast US. We do not change clocks in Western Australia, ever. So we just adjust to whatever you guys are doing. Yeah, spring forward is the worst. You guys lose an hour and we have to go back to getting up an hour earlier to be at the same time that you guys are at. So like, because right now, so Lupus, he does Fractured Thrones and he has to be up at, like the meeting starts at like 7:30 p.m. Eastern US time, which means he gets up at like 8 a.m. our time and he's in the meeting by 8:30 a.m. our time because that's the time. When the clocks change again, he'll have to get up at 7 and be in the meeting at 7:30 because it'll only be 12 hours apart again. And getting up at 7 is rough when you're not a morning person. It is a rough one. I am more of a morning person, but even then, here, the sun, like since we don't change clocks, the sun will rise in December at 5 a.m. Like 5 in the frickin' morning, the sun is up and we don't have curtains here. We're not allowed to install them. So I've got these blinds that don't really work. And my body's all like, sun's up, time to be awake. But then the flip side of that is in the winter, it is really hard to drag myself out of bed in the morning because no sun. So yeah, no adjustments for time of day, no adjustments for when the sun rises or sets. Do you and my brother still go at it? We're fine. We're adults now. He's married and he lives in New Jersey. He is what is it he does? He's got a PhD in marine biology. I think he works in like toxicology, like water toxicology. I don't entirely know what he does. I know his wife works for like U.S. Fish and Wildlife, doing like studies of fish. Yeah, he's fine. We just don't see each other very often. When I still lived in Florida, I'd see him maybe once a year at Christmas. We'll text on each other's birthdays, and he'll send me like an Amazon gift card for Christmas and my birthday, and that's it. So, yeah, we get along when we're in the same room. We're fine. We can talk, we can laugh, but like we just don't really have anything in common. Living in the future. I am. Victoria's living in the future too. Victoria's even more in the future than I am. Lives in New Jersey on purpose. Yes, not all of New Jersey sucks. There's some charming places. Yeah, 5 a.m. sun is rough. It takes some adjusting. My body has been forced to learn how to sleep through some of the sun just to get enough rest at night. And again, the winter's pretty brutal because then there's just so much dark. But it's okay. We make do. I kind of like not changing clocks, but then we just have to adjust to everybody else changes. Europe, the UK, America, like everybody's changing, so we just have to adjust to you guys, and it's like we might as well change clocks at that point. Like, I mean, we're the only ones not doing it. So New Jersey and you have a hate-hate relationship? I'll be honest, the only time I've ever really spent time in New Jersey was passing through airports. But my brother's house seems nice. I've seen pictures of it. I hear some of the more coastal areas are pleasant. I mean, it's a whole ass state. It can't all be oil and petrochemical refineries, can it? Can it? They say I live in the future, but they don't like when I talk about time. Time is such a construct, and it is interesting to me to be ahead. Like when we had New Year's and it was like wishing Happy New Year, and it was like, 11 a.m. my parents' time, and I'm like, Happy New Year, and they're like, yeah. Like, we still have 13 hours to go. And I'm like, yeah, you do. Have fun. I'll be over here in 2024. Yay. How bad was Jersey that they made a new one? It's still that bad. I know, right? Like, I feel like New Jersey gets a lot of shit. I think my brother chooses to live there because it's pretty central to both him and his wife's jobs. He did live in Pennsylvania for a little bit, but it's all that same area. I think he's like an hour outside of New York City, something like that. The Garden State. Exactly, it's the Garden State, and that's definitely not ironic. Totally not ironic. Is it ironic, you guys? Is it actually ironic? Oh, whatever, it's fine. It's New Jersey. We'll leave it. We'll let New Jersey be New Jersey. I personally, of the places I've lived, isn't it Alanis Morissette song? You mean the song about things that aren't actually ironic? That song? Woo. So it's not ironic. Aha, I gotcha. I'll be honest, like my least favorite place that I've lived was Texas. Really, really hated Texas. Almost no redeeming qualities. And I'm sorry if that pisses anybody off, but oh my God, did I hate Texas. The culture was rough. So, yeah. Victoria, the state, used to have the Garden State on their license plate. Oh, does Australia have like themes for the states? Like in the US, every state has a thing, like the Sunshine State, the Golden State, the Land of Lincoln, the Granite State, the Centennial State, the we don't know what the fuck we're doing here state, the Lone Star State. I guess in Western Australia we'd be the Sandgroper State. Go Sandgropers! Please experience other. That's very true. That's very true. I only lived in Texas for a short time, like just a couple of years. But in that time, like when I moved out of Texas, the number of people who saw it as like a personal affront that I was leaving Texas, they genuinely could not fathom why I would leave Texas. And I'm like, because it sucks here. Please live somewhere else and give it a shot. Like, please experience other places. This is not the be-all, end-all of existence. It's very culty, very strange. Ontario has yours to discover. Oh, that's clever. Yours to discover. Look at you guys. Granite State, Centennial State. Woo! I grew up in Illinois. That's the land of Lincoln. But I was right outside of Missouri. I spent a lot of time in Missouri, which is the show me state. That's real, real dumb. I hate it. Also, every state has a state bird, a state flag, a state flower. What else? State everything, really. They all have designated state bullshittery. And like 5 different states have the cardinal as their state bird. They're really unoriginal. You're from New Jersey and you two partner. See, I don't have a problem with New Jersey. Like I said, I don't think it's a bad thing. My brother seems happy there. Texas, though, boo. It's rough. And again, that's just my experience. But like being an outsider, moving to Texas and then experiencing it and then moving away again, I feel like I got a pretty good picture of what it was like. And the vibe, like everybody was nice, but nobody was kind. Like it was very, very for show. Everybody seemed to care that they looked like they were being nice. They looked like they were doing nice things, but they didn't actually do them. And it also bugged me that like every time you met somebody new, they'd be like, so where do you go to church? Like even in major metropolitan areas, people would ask that. And I was like, I don't, question mark. I I would really rather not, thank you. Live free or die. Yeah. Live in London. When I lived in the UK for 6 months, I really enjoyed London. I really, really did. I was just outside of London, not quite close enough to take the underground all the way in, but I could take an Uber to the station and then take it. But I had friends who lived in the city proper, and I really liked it. I liked their neighborhoods. I liked how walkable some of it was. Like, yeah, I very much liked London. Any chance I got, I would go in there and hang out with them, and yeah, good times. The very first time I was visiting with people in London, like in their flat, all of a sudden we heard like explosions, and we ran to the window and there were fireworks going off like across the street. Someone was just setting fireworks off in the backyard, and I was like, this is so cool. Like, ordinarily I would hate that, but I enjoyed it. You have a football team named after them, and the Cardinals still isn't your state bird. You have that football team because the Cardinals used to be the St. Louis football team, and then they were moved to Arizona. After that, St. Louis got the Rams. Then they were moved to LA. St. Louis can't catch a fucking break on football teams. My family lived in St. Louis for like 4 generations. Like, my parents were born in East St. Louis. I grew up hearing the stories of how things used to be back when the Cardinals were the football. They still have the baseball Cardinals. They're still there. Baseball Cardinals in St. Louis are actually good, usually. They've got, like, what, 11 rings or something? They've got a lot. And the Blues hockey, St. Louis Blues, which, that's good. I like hockey. But yeah, Arizona Cardinals came originally from St. Louis. And it's a real shame. They were originally in Chicago. The St. Louis Cardinals football team was originally in Chicago because the Bears have been there for the entirety of history. Or Googling. Yeah, they moved from Chicago to St. Louis in 1960, but at that point, like, if we're going back before 1960, we can start changing the names of everything. I feel like the Chicago's known for the Bears. Like, that's the Chicago team. And they kind of always have been. Like, the Bears were a thing for a really long time. But, yeah. And again, just growing up with a family that was based in St. Louis and surrounding areas, hearing the tales of how they kept losing football teams. So sad. So very sad. I don't think they have one right now, do they? Does St. Louis have a team right now? Probably not. That's a bummer. Let's see. Australia does have state birds. That's cool. Yeah, London is expensive, but it is very, very nice. The common loon. I want to live in a place where the bird is a loon. That sounds perfect. It's a loon. I want that. Yeah, I knew that the emu is like the national bird of Australia. Lupus tells me that the reason why the emu and the kangaroo are on the crest of Australia is because neither of them can go backwards. Neither of them is capable of walking backwards. He says that's why they're the ones on the crest. I believe him. I think. It tracks. It sounds right. I mean, I'll take that as canon. I'll take that as gospel. Gang cockatoo. Oh yeah, the black swan. Yeah, I knew we had the black. We have so many black swans here. It's on our flag. We have the Swan River. We were driving somewhere the other day, and there were just a million black swans in this pond alongside the road. So yeah, that doesn't surprise me. It's a black swan. SA gets the magpie? Really? Huh. Interesting. I'd heard about loonies. I'd heard that the dollar in Canada was called loonies, and that's one reason I never took Canada seriously as a country when I was a kid. Like, that's not a real place. What is that? Just like some territory that belongs to Greenland or something? That's not real. They can't walk backwards. There you go. Okay, so they're holding up the crest because they can't walk backwards. They can only go forwards. And you lose a whole war to them. Yeah, that. So it's not necessarily the fault of anybody who didn't realize that emus can take like 5 hits before they go down. Like, they're tanky as fuck, those birds. They're so strong. I have never encountered one in the wild here. I've only seen them like on farms and stuff. And I really don't want to encounter one in the wild. The only thing I've encountered remotely dangerous is just like redback spiders. I've never actually seen a snake here. The magpies don't seem to want to mess with me too much. Oh, so you guys know, like last year I spent all that time training that magpie lark that would come to our backyard and hang out, and he almost ate out of Lupus's hand once, but didn't quite. He started coming back this year with his girlfriend, which, cool, that's great. Hadn't seen him in a while though. And we were sitting last night on the couch watching something. And the back door was open a little bit because the air conditioning here, you have to have like a door window open to help push the air through. And all of a sudden I hear this shrieking, like, bah, 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 bah. I was like, who the fuck is doing that? And I go look outside, and there he is. There's Stalwart, like standing on the back porch, like, bitch, where's my food? And I was like, oh, look, he's back. Which made us very happy, and I went and gave him food. And then I was like, wait, I don't want him to learn that he can stand out there and scream for his dinner. This is not a good habit to encourage. I don't like that plan. That's a bad plan. But I was just happy to see him back, so he got some food. He's a good boy. The Australian national bird is the cassowary covered in the blood of the... That's what it should be. I mean, the emu makes sense, but like... cassowaries scare the shit out. They're dinosaurs. Cassowaries are just dinosaurs. They're mean and angry and... yeah, they freak me out a lot. Yeah, we know about the emu war. It's a meme that they lost against the birds, but like I said, the birds took a lot of bullets, far, far more than anybody thought it would take. Like, if you're blowing 5 or 6 bullets per bird, that's a lot. And they also just didn't devote the resources. Like, if they really wanted to wipe them out, they could have, but they didn't devote the resources they should have to it, and they decided it wasn't worth it at the end of the day. A place that needs to devote some resources is Florida. Needs to devote some resources to getting all those massive invasive snakes out of the Everglades. The anacondas and stuff like that. They don't belong there. They should not be there. They're working their way up the state. They're eating everything. They're ruining the local ecosystem. And they'll have like events where they'll be like, hey, we'll pay you X amount for every snake you kill. And people go out and they'll bring back like maybe 50 of them. And it's like, you know, that's not making a dent. That's not making a goddamn bit of dent. They need to do something more with that, or the whole state's going to get overrun. Especially as it keeps getting warmer out. Have I seen baby emus? Yeah, baby anything is cute. That's how they manage to not die. Like, I'm not going to kill you because you're cute. How well do the bin chickens tank? I don't know. I haven't ever shot at one. It's harder to get a gun here. And I wouldn't want to. I don't actually have a problem with the bin chickens because they, you know, ibises in Florida are nice. They're smaller. They're like all white and they're very like gentle, and they just kind of like daintily walk along and eat bugs out of drainage ditches and stuff. They're fine. Bin chickens here, though, they're bigger. They're angrier looking. Apparently they're kind of aggressive. So I just... like, in my heart, I don't mind them because they remind me of the Florida ones, but I know they're not the same. And I definitely should not pet or feed. Does he have a distinguishing feature that tells you he's not a magpie? He's a magpie lark, so he's like a smaller, gentler bird than a full-ass magpie. Way less threatening. And yeah, I can't really explain it, but the way his tail looks, his tail and like the plumage right above his tail, like I don't know what it is, but I know when I see him. Like if I see other ones, I'm like, that's not him. I could not tell you why though. We spent so much time with this one bird last year that like he kept coming back. So like it's just one of those things, you just recognize him when you see him. Yeah, magpie larks are not magpies. 5 to 6 Lewis machine gun. Yeah. Emus can take so much. They are meaty birds. Very, very, very meaty. I've never tried the meat, but like I have tried kangaroo. And I'm just not a fan of like those really lean, muscular, like game animals, like deer and stuff, where there's no fat on them, and they're kind of pungent, kind of gamey, and you have to do stuff to the meat to make it like more edible. And I don't know, man, give me some marbling. You know, we need that for that tenderness. Kangaroo meat's pretty rough. I've had kangaroo burgers and they're okay, but like the whole time I was like, man, a beef burger would be better. And Australian beef is really good. Like Australian beef is top quality. Good shit. So. Have I tried platypus? No. You're not supposed to eat platypus. It'd probably kill you. Yeah, platypus has like a... Victoria, is it a venomous spike or something? There's something about it that's venomous. Like a spike or barbs, like venomous barbs. I'm like rubbing my wrists, but you can't see me. Yeah, it's a crime in every state to kill a platypus. Platypi are fucking adorable. I love them, and I can completely understand why early, like, when they were first discovered, people thought they were a joke. Like, that's absolutely not a real animal. Somebody's definitely pranking us. It's like a jackalope. Like, I get it. It's very, very believable. Yeah, Florida should declare the python. Pythons and wild pigs. The wild pigs are also really invasive. I've seen a shit ton of those. Even in North Florida, we had so many wild pigs, and they would breed like crazy. Like I remember specifically one time I was taking a walk at night. No, not night. It was like twilight. And there was this retention pond, and like on the other side of the pond there was trees, a tree line, and out of the tree line comes these 3 fully grown pigs and about a dozen babies, and they were just like heading to the water, and I was like, oh my fucking god, that's so many pigs. Like there was just so many. And I was like, and I'd seen them many times since then, and I never saw fewer than like 4 or 5 babies every time I saw an adult, and I was like, Jesus, that's a lot of pigs. Like, whew. Very invasive, very destructive. Have I had moose? I have not had moose, but I imagine it's similar as far as like, as long as it's a big muscular animal that's not being farmed for its like fatty meat, then it's probably going to be pretty lean. Turn the bin chickens into nuggets. I don't think I want to eat it. A venomous spur on the ankle. Yeah, I was right. I knew they had something venomous about them, because everything in Australia has got something venomous about it, it seems like. Every fucking thing, even stalwarts out there, like, trying to figure out how to work some sort of venomous dart so you can get me. Some states have a bounty on the snakehead fish. I know Florida's got lionfish. Lionfish are an invasive species in the waters off the coast of Florida. And I believe they pay a bounty if you catch them and bring them in. I know they encourage it. I don't know if they actually pay for it, but they definitely encourage you to get those things out of the water. We had a lionfish as a pet when I was a kid. My dad had this massive saltwater fish tank, like bathtub-sized tank, that he maintained. It was like embedded into one of the walls, and he would get behind it and like clean it and feed and stuff. And we had a lionfish, and it stung him once. And he said it was one of the worst pains he's ever felt. I did not realize he was in pain, because my dad takes pain really weirdly. I don't know if it's because he's a doctor or because he's just weird, but he will, as he puts it, pretend like he doesn't have pain, and then he will very calmly go and deal with it. If he's actively bleeding, he might pass out. I've seen him do that. But like with the lionfish, he just very calmly pulled his hand out of the water, went and got his book about venom, to see just how serious this was and whether he should go to the hospital. He was fine. He didn't have to go to the hospital, but like just watching him like calmly page through this thing, and I'm like, "What'd you do?" And he's like, "Lionfish stung me. I'm trying to see what that means." And I'm like, "Does it hurt?" He's like, "Oh yeah, hurts a lot." I was like, "Great." This is the same man that I walked in on doing surgery on his own feet, though, so really should not have been surprised. Platypus can detect ghosts? What the fuck? Platypus can detect EMF? Is there anything a platypus can't do? Ever? Decent amount of fat on it. If a moose tastes more like cow than deer, I'd probably like it. Deer, I like deer sausage. My uncle used to hunt deer, and he'd make sausage out of it every Christmas and stuff, and that was fine. But like just straight up, the meat is just so lean and strong smelling a lot of the time. And yeah, I believe that kangaroos are better for the environment. I know cows are terrible for the environment. I know we should probably eat a lot less beef. And most of the time here, I make a lot of chicken. I don't make much pork. I feel weird about pork because pigs are so smart and kind of human adjacent. My mom has pretty much stopped eating all meat except for chicken and fish. She will not eat beef or pork anymore. And I've never eaten like lamb and veal because I just don't do baby animals. Lamb's a big thing here in Australia, but I just can't. I can't eat baby animals. Everybody's got a line, and that's mine. But I should definitely try to eat less beef. I get the mince from Costco. Like we just went to Costco yesterday, and I got the mince, and I portion it out into 500-gram bags in the freezer and just pull them out like to make tacos or burgers or something. But like, we definitely eat a lot of chicken though. So much chicken. I'd like to eat more seafood, but Lupus has to be in like the right mood for seafood. So if he's not feeling it, it's definitely not a seafood night. If offered the opportunity for free, would you try prepared insects? I've eaten insects before. I feel like you keep hearing that like insects are going to be the protein of the future. Like they're such a sustainable source of protein, and that's just like we're going to have to adapt to that at some point. And depending on preparation, that's fine. I don't like the texture of like legs. I don't like that. And I don't like too much crunch. Like I don't want to think too hard about what it is. But if it's properly like prepared in a way that I can't really tell what it is, I'm fine. Which I guess is true of most things. One of my best friends is everyone except cephalopods because they're so smart. Now, I know octopi are smart. Are squids smart? I thought squids were the idiots of the cephalopods. I thought it was like, yeah, octopi can do a lot of things and squids are just whatever. Eat us. A lot of ground turkey and tilapia. I love tilapia. I wish I could have it more. We have a lot of salmon in the fridge or in the freezer. Lupus went through a phase where he really liked salmon and then stopped. So adjusting to that. I'm prepared to make almost anything, but chicken tends to be the fallback. Yeah, squid rings are a huge thing here. Like, I guess they're caught off the coast or something because every place here has squid rings. They don't call it calamari for some reason. They call it squid rings. I guess because the Italian influence is not here like it is in the US. But, yeah. I don't eat octopus. I do eat squid because I thought that was the ones that were okay to eat because they're stupid, but maybe not. Squids are relatively not that smart. I mean, but octopi can be really damn smart, so relatively is that's a loaded term. Calamari is something else. In the US, calamari is just squid rings. It's like the same thing. Fried squid rings is calamari. But here it's squid rings. But yeah, don't eat octopus. Or I don't eat octopus. You guys eat whatever the hell you want. If you are right with yourself, that's fine. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I don't eat because I object to it. I know there's a lot of fuss about like almonds and almond milk and how much water it takes to do that, so I just sort of steer clear of all of it. I don't really do the nut milks. I don't eat avocados because I think they're gross, so that's not an issue. Italian influence is fucking massive here. On your side of the country? That's cool. That's interesting. We don't have as much of it here. There's a little. There's a few Italian places, but like surprisingly little. You can definitely prove the existence of one cryptid. Which do you choose? You know what? Let's do Bigfoot. Let's let those Bigfoot chasers finally get their satisfaction. It's been a long time. Let's let them have it. Let's give them this one. Let's give them a win. We'll give them a win. We'll give them an actual non-grainy photograph of a Bigfoot and let them have that. You're welcome, Bigfoot chasers. This one's for you. What else? Like things here. Seafood obviously is really big here. Asian food is really, really big here. We have a lot of Japanese, a lot of sushi, some Chinese, a lot of Korean, barbecue type stuff like burgers and stuff you can throw on a grill. It's really popular. Chicken parmies, of course, which are served with fries instead of pasta, which is weird. Steak sandwiches are really big here. Like really, really, every pub's got a steak sandwich on the menu. You have a rant about Bigfoot not existing? The Nessie chasers. I don't know if I count Nessie as a cryptid. I guess technically, but like we've already gotten like the proof of the guy that like put the toy out in the water and took the pictures of it and stuff. Like we were pretty confident that there is no Nessie. They were able to like do the deep sea studying of that whole area, that whole like all the water around it, everything, and found nothing. Whereas Bigfoot, you know, there's a few stragglers that still think it's a thing, and you know, there's places it could, I guess, potentially hide. Lupus tries to tell me that kangaroos have caves. He says they go into their caves at night. I know he's full of shit, but it's one of those things that he says with such confidence that, like, I know he's fucking with me. Kangaroos don't live in caves. Any larger kind of... Yeah. That's true, Victoria. Like, the big ones especially. And like we know, especially with like Nessie, they did the sonar, like they went inch by inch over that fucking lake and there's nothing in it. Like there's just nothing in it. Bunyip? No bunyips. Generations of Australian children are screaming right now. No! Not bunyips! Drop bears. Drop bears are real, though. That's not a cryptid. Drop bears are legitimate. The cave kangaroo. God damn it, Victoria. I know you're, like, helping him right now. I know what you're doing. And yet, I am Googling. What the fuck is this? Load faster. Researchers have discovered an extinct kangaroo that adapted to climb through powerful forelimbs and hind limbs, grasping hands, and strongly curved claws. But they were in trees. They were climbing trees, not caves. They found some of the remains in caves, but that's just because that's where we tend to find remains. All but one group of kangaroos and wallabies are ground-dwelling, and that all species that are known to climb trees are closely related. This finding means that the tree climbing evolved more than once in the kangaroo family tree. So these are tree climbers, but they're not cave dwellers. It does sound a bit like a sloth. Yeah, climbing trees and like having the big long curved claws. Yeah, very sloth-like. You can hear the bunyipping. Bunyipping is not a verb. I'm not going to allow that. We're not bunyipping anywhere. Jesus. Oh, man. God, has it already been 2 hours? How do we do that? How do we just sit and shoot the shit for 2 hours? That's wild. I should probably wrap up, though. I've got so much to do today. My afternoon is full of appointments. And I've got things to do before those appointments. So, woo! Exciting. Yeah, we'll call it there. Thank you guys for hanging out, though. I very, very much appreciate you. You are awesome. If you like these YouTube hangouts, I'll keep doing them twice a month. I feel like they're kind of fun. They certainly have potential. Next time, maybe I'll play something. And then, yeah, always ask your questions. Always, come with whatever you want to talk about. I'm down. These are for you guys, so yeah, easy. I'll be back tomorrow for patron pick. So if you haven't already voted for this week's game, please do that, patrons, on Patreon. And until then, as always, be good. I'll talk to you soon.